Let's call this Volume 1 of Ask an Airsoft Referee. It's me. I'm the head referee for the Airsoft Ministry. Hi, we're in Roseville, California. Hi. So against my better judgment, I went on Airsoft Reddit and asked kids, like, hey, what are your questions for a ref? Because, why not? Sounds like fun. Here's some of the questions that I got from Airsoft Reddit. Lunatic Gamer 266 wants to know, what's the worst encounter you've had with a cheater? We haven't really had any real big cheater problems. I think it's because our field is 0 MD. Bang kills are optional. Our FPS go up to 400 with AEG semis. Our HPAs are capped at 350. And our spawn points, we have 2 distinctly marked spawn points. And I think because we do such a good job explaining the detail and depth of our rule set, we don't really have cheater problems. We even define overshooting. So our overshooting rule is basically you could shoot a player 3 times before we start even considering it to be an instance of overshooting. Do you ref at an outdoor-indoor field? What's a non-airsoft problem you guys run into? Oh boy. So Airsoft Ministry is a outdoor field, completely outdoor. We don't really have any overhead protection. None of our buildings have roofs. That's why they're not buildings, they're props. But we do get a fair traffic of homeless people using our buildings or our structures as overnight shelters. So when I show up on Saturdays, if I'm helping out with private events, or Sundays for regular play, I will get there maybe an hour early sometimes, just to walk the field and make sure there are no homeless people living or camping out on the field. When I do find a camper, they're usually up and out of there in 20-30 minutes. They gather their belongings, they take off. CVPI Gun Guy, what's the most surprising case of someone shooting way too hot for your field? A gun that caught you off guard, or maybe FPS that was Astra. CO2 guns, particularly pistols. As if I don't really think there's any other kind of CO2 gun. We'll get some CO2 revolvers that will jump around 420, 450. The new SIG M17 or M19, that new airsoft pistol that SIG came out with by themselves, sort of. The CO2 version, I saw guys chronoing that up to 500 FPS with .2s. So there's that. But CO2 revolvers, usually. CO2 guns in general. Every now and then I'll see one, then that thing will jump above 400 for the first 4 or 5 shots, and we just don't even mess with it. You're not allowed to bring that on the field. We cap all of our pistols at 350. Echo Chamber, do you teach people to chrono in joules? If you don't, why do you actively hurt the sport? So generally we go by the FPS rule, only because we have never encountered an instance where the joules versus FPS would have solved it. Like that's not a real thing for us. Because our field is so close to... Our layout is a CQB style layout. So there might only be 1 or 2 places where you could take a shot that's 15 yards or longer, if that. But for the most part, we specifically have our field designed to be 5 to 7 yards average engagement, maybe like 10 yards average engagement. But we try to keep the field as close as possible, as close together as realistically possible for the layout, because we want close engagements. Besides reffing, do you take on any other roles within your field? Where do I begin? So I run the social media, I run the Instagram and the Facebook, and I'm constant. Anyone that subscribes to those field social media knows we're on there almost daily. At least with stories, reposting kids. Any time a player tags us in something, as long as it meets, it's good guidelines, it's not swearing or anything, I try and repost it, because I know how important that is for a lot of kids to get reposted to their field's Instagram. So I try to be as community friendly as possible when it comes to that. What else do I do? All the tournaments. I basically run all the tournaments. And last year we had, I think, 4. We did a jungle ball. We did team elimination. I think we did a couple team eliminations. I can't remember what else we did, but yeah, we do a lot of tournaments. This year, maybe not so much because keep in mind, I'm a volunteer staff member. So all of us, if you look at the Airsoft Ministry, our field is a church nonprofit. So we're all volunteers at this, all 6 of us that run a airsoft field about 200 something by about 150 something feet. That averages about 150 players every Sunday, and we're only open on Sundays. But I do all this as a volunteer. So anything you see for the Airsoft Ministry, we ain't getting paid. So I'm a completely volunteer staff member, and I do all that stuff. I do it for the experience, just to kind of learn the different platforms, and a lot of kids really love everything we do. So my whole goal is to make sure that kids understand that they matter in our community, and that we want them to have fun. That's it. And the end. So I'm going to try and do more of these Airsoft Ref videos because I guess a lot of people like it. I guess not a lot of Airsoft Refs have a vocal social media presence. I do. Find me on Instagram and check me out for probably in the next couple months or so, I'll post something, again, against my better judgment, on Airsoft Reddit. So go away.
Caber, who the f*** are you, nerd?